All right, first things first. Here on your desktop or anywhere on your computer, right-click and create a new folder. I'm going to call this HTML, but we could call it anything. Now, let's go back to VS Code and open the Explorer panel. Then we go to Open Folder and open the folder that we just created. Good. Now, this folder is currently empty, so let's add a new file here called index.html. As I told you before, index.html often represents the homepage of websites. So let's go with that. Now we can close the Explorer panel by pressing Command and B on Mac or Control and B on Windows. Good. Now, the first thing we need to do here is to tell the browser that this is an HTML5 document. So we type a left angle bracket. Now look at this suggestion list. The first item here is doc type or document type. Let's press Enter or Tab. VS Code generated this piece of code for us. So with this line of code, we can tell browsers that this is an HTML5 document. This line of code here is called doc type declaration. In the previous versions of HTML, our doc type declaration was so long, it was so messy, but HTML5 solved this problem. So all we have to type is doc type HTML. And by the way, HTML is not a case-sensitive language, which means it's not sensitive to uppercase and lowercase letters. But conventionally speaking, we type everything in lowercase except doc type. This is just a convention. We could type this in lowercase, and that's perfectly fine. So let's revert it back. Now, right after this, we need to use our HTML elements to define the structure of this web page. The first element we're going to use is the HTML element. So we type HTML and then press Tab or Enter. Once again, VS Code generated this piece of code for us. So what we have here on the left side is called the opening tag, and what we have on the right side is the closing tag. So most HTML elements have an opening and a closing tag, but there are exceptions, as I'm going to show you later in this video. Now, inside this element, we're going to add additional elements. Now, because I don't want to type everything in one line, I'm going to press Enter. That's better. Now here we're going to add two elements, head and body. So once again, we type head, press Tab, good, and then body. We use the head element to give browser information about this page. For example, here we can use the title element to specify the title of this page that appears in the browser over here. So let's type my first web page. Now let's save the changes by pressing Command and S on Mac or Control and S on Windows. Good. Now before going any further, let's right-click somewhere and go to Open with Live Server. So we're going to open this page using the development server that we just installed. Okay. All right, take a look. So our page is currently empty because we haven't added any elements inside this page. And over here, we can see the title that we just typed, my first web page. Now look at the URL or address of this page. We have 127.0.0.1. This number or this IP address represents the local computer. It's globally known, so everybody knows 127.0.0.1 references the current computer. After that, we have a colon, and then we have the port number on which our web server is listening. So our web server is waiting for HTTP requests on this port. Okay? Then we have a / followed by the name of our file, index.html. Now, back to VS Code. Inside the body element, we're going to add elements that would appear on our page. So let's say we want to display a tweet. What elements do we need here? An image and some text elements. So we type img, short for image, and then press Tab. Here's our image element. Now this image element is different from the other elements we have created so far. Can you tell the differences? There are two differences here. The first difference is that here we don't have a closing tag. We only have an opening tag because the image element cannot have any child elements. That's the reason. Now in the previous versions of HTML, we used to add a / here, and this represents a self-closing tag. But we don't have to do this in HTML5, so I'm going to keep the code simpler. Now, here we have two attributes, source and alt. With these attributes, we